Who is Naoki Higashida? Can you pull up on your phone who is Naoki Higashida? It is spelled Naokihighashidi. Do you see who he is? What is Naoki Higashida diagnosis? Can Naoki Higashida speak? Can Naoki Higashida use a computer? Did Naoki Higashida write a book? Why is Naoki Higashida different from me? Why can Naoki Higashida be aware of his symptoms and how others are different from himself? Let me read to you a few scripts from his book. Q23 What's the worst thing about having autism? You never notice. Really, you have no idea quite how miserable we are. The people who are looking after us may say, minding these kids is really hard work, you know. But for us who are always causing the problems and are useless at pretty much everything we try to do, you can't begin to imagine how miserable and sad we get. Whenever we've done something wrong, we get told off or laughed at, without even being able to apologize, and we end up hating ourselves and despairing about our own lives, again and again and again. It's impossible not to wonder why we were born into this world as human beings at all. But I ask you, those of you who are with us all day, not to stress yourselves out because of us. When you do this, it feels as if you're denying any value at all that our lives may have, and that saps the spirit we need to soldier on. The hardest ordeal for us is the idea that we are causing grief for other people. We can put up with our own hardships, okay, but the thought that our lives are the source of other people's unhappiness, that's plain unbearable. Q20 Why do you make a huge fuss over tiny mistakes? When I see I've made a mistake, my mind shuts down. I cry, I scream, I make a huge fuss, and I just can't think straight about anything anymore. However tiny the mistake, for me it's a massive deal, as if heaven and earth have been turned upside down. For example, when I pour water into a glass, I can't stand it if I spill even a drop. It must be hard for you to understand why this could make me so unhappy. And even to me, I know really that it's not such a big deal. But it's almost impossible for me to keep my emotions contained. Once I've made a mistake, the fact of it starts rushing toward me like a tsunami. And then, like trees or houses being destroyed by the tsunami, I get destroyed by the shock. I get swallowed up in the moment, and can't tell the right response from the wrong response. All I know is that I have to get out of the situation as soon as I can, so I don't drown. To get away, I'll do anything. Crying, screaming, and throwing things, hitting out even. Finally, I'll calm down and come back to myself. Then I see no sign of the tsunami attack, only the wreckage I've made. And when I see that, I hate myself. I just hate myself. Q14 Why do you ignore us when we're talking to you? If someone's talking to me from somewhere far off, I don't notice. You're probably thinking, same here, yes? A major headache for me, however, is that even when someone's right here in front of me, I still don't notice when they're talking to me. Not noticing, however, is not the same as deliberately ignoring. But often people assume I must be arrogant or retarded. People around me always make me realize that I'm being spoken to by saying things like, say hello back, then, Naoki, or, what do you say, then? So whenever that happens I just repeat what I've been told to say, like a minor bird learning a new word. Even though I feel guilty toward the person who has spoken to me, I can't even apologize, so I end up feeling miserable and ashamed that I can't manage a proper human relationship. A person who's looking at a mountain far away doesn't notice the prettiness of a dandelion in front of them. A person who's looking at a dandelion in front of them doesn't see the beauty of a mountain far away. To us, people's voices are a bit like that. It's very difficult for us to know someone's there and that they're talking to us, just by their voice, so it would help us a great deal if you could just use our names first to get our attention, before you start talking to us. Q5 Why do you do things you shouldn't even when you've been told a million times not to? How many times do I have to tell you? Us people with autism hear that all the time. Me, I'm always being told off for doing the same old things. It may look as if we're being bad out of naughtiness, but honestly, we're not. When we're being told off, we feel terrible that yet again we've done what we've been told not to. But when the chance comes once more, we've pretty much forgotten about the last time and we just get carried away yet again. It's as if something that isn't us is urging us on. You must be thinking, is he never going to learn? We know we're making you sad and upset, but it's as if we don't have any say in it, I'm afraid, and that's the way it is. But please, whatever you do, don't give up on us. We need your help. The great statue of Buddha. When you've been on a trip somewhere, have you ever watched someone burst into tears for no obvious reason? Of course there is a reason for it, really, it's just that the person who's crying isn't able to tell you what the reason is. For all you know, the person might be crying for joy, but that might not even occur to you. Well, it's much the same for me. The other day I was visiting a town called Kamakura, where there's this huge statue of Buddha. And when I saw it, I was so deeply moved that I started welling up. It wasn't just Buddha's majesty and dignity, it was the sheer weight of history and generations of people's hopes, prayers and thoughts that broke over me, and I couldn't stop myself crying. It was as if Buddha himself was saying to me, all human beings have their hardships to bear, so never swerve away from the path you're on. Everybody has a heart that can be touched by something. Crying isn't necessarily about sadness or meltdowns or being upset. I'd like you to bear that in mind, if you would. So why and how can Naoki Higashida have autism that is severe and not able to speak, but is able to be aware of himself and others, and what he needs to function? But I have the same diagnosis as Naoki Higashida, but I have intellectual disability and ADHD and other developmental disabilities, and Naoki Higashida doesn't. Why can Naoki Higashida or all the rest of people like Naoki Higashida get help but I am not when I have the same needs as all the rest with my condition? Looks like exclusion to me. You're going to have people taking care of you the rest of your life. At some point, you better learn just because someone wipes your ass doesn't mean you have to kiss theirs.